Hello, everyone. Give me one moment to get the live chat set up. As always, this is another Dragon Ball Super review. This is a review of episode 105, so spoilers for said episode, so definitely look out for that. Again, if you do not want anything spoiled for episode 105 and you would like to see this episode for yourself first, I highly recommend that you do so. You're able to watch it on Crunchyroll, Funimation, as well as other many online resources. So I definitely recommend that if you haven't seen this episode yet, that you definitely give this episode a shot before watching this review, as this review will contain spoilers for episode 105, and based on predictions and analysis, possibly spoilers for episode 106. So just keep that in mind as well. Of course, I'll save any predictions that I have more so for the end of the video so that you can avoid spoilers. Yo, Kirby and Hazard's Vegito, welcome to the stream. Well, Hazard's Vegito, my apologies. Yo, Zolex, good to see you. Kirby, Hazard's Vegito, Zolex, welcome to the stream. It's good to have all of you. Kirby said pineapples. Hazard's Vegito said bananas. And Zolex said, Nick, you were right. We will definitely get into that as well as the video continues. Now, let's see. I know what I'm going to do in order to make this work. Yeah, okay, so this will be great. And Zolex said about Master Roshi. But we'll get there. We'll get there. So we have a few images that are just from the beginning. I just want to edit these images, which is the only reason why they're provided inside of the big slideshow of pictures. So first note that I took is Kawaii makes energy weapons. Casserole also did that. Kirby said, hold on to your butt, Zolex. So yeah, Kawaii's energy weapon thing I thought was cool. While Casserole, as a member of the Pride Troopers, also made energy weapons, his were a little bit more unstable. While Kawaii's seem to have like a full shape. Like hers are more like Green Lantern weapons, where they're really smooth throughout and they're not really jagged and stupid. So that shows a lot of energy and ki control. A matter of fact, in the Daisenshu, they mentioned that Vegito is so powerful because of the fact that his energy sword that he makes is so stable. It's not really jagged or anything. So for her to be able to make shit like hammers and we'll later on see spears and stuff like that, you'd think that would mean Kawaii was really powerful. But as we'll see as we go through, Kawaii is not as strong as she probably should be based on her ability to make these weapons. Here's Roshi looking like a fucking G. I love the things they say about what Roshi's been up to for the whole tournament. The idea that he's been biding his time, observing all the fighters and learning what their skills and strengths are, I think really leans toward the fact that he's a master, that he's taken this time in order to not only develop his skills, but learn how to read a situation and know what's going on the battlefield. So shout out to Roshi. Roshi really does some hardcore Batman level shit in this, and I really enjoy that. Even though he's one of the more underdog fighters, he really shows his dominance in this episode, and that's something that we'll definitely talk about more as this goes on. I also like the fact that Roshi points out that he's essentially waited for them to run out of fighters. Like, there are less than half of the fighters there, and then Roshi's like, okay, less danger, time to fuck some shit up. His prior planning's on fleek, but he knows, like, who's strong and who's weak. Here's Kawaii making Roshi get all up in his feelings when she reveals that her other technique, instead of just making energy weapons, is that hardcore seduction. Hashtag clickbait. So Krillin gives Roshi props, and he's like, oh man, you know, Roshi's been training. She's such a fool. She thinks that she'll be able to seduce Roshi, and then Roshi starts blushing. Fucking Krillin loses his shit. He's like, no. Elder Kai's trying to smash. You already know what it is. It's like that grade A bullshit. Let's see. We got a few more comments down here. Hazard's Vegito said Zarbon's mistake. Moving forward, we got Kawaii going like, come on, trying to get Roshi in close as she then launches forward with this energy spear. And again, look at how clean this energy spear is. How, like, smooth it is. It's not just, like, jagged energy and shit. She's essentially created, like, a heart-like construct at ki. So her, like, Green Lantern level powers of, like, ki energy weapon manipulation seems to be, like, top-tier shit. But Roshi then says, hashtag bitch you thought, and just catches that shit between two fingers. I mean, the fleet level is just so great. Roshi's like essentially shows that he's on a whole other plane. Kirby said she's Shao Kahn. Fucking Mortal Kombat references. Koei is going like really hardcore on that ass. This scene, by the way, I can't show it through pictures, but they actually show shaky cam. So even though it's an animation, they have the camera kind of like pan and tilt around as Roshi like grabbed the tip of the spear, and I liked that as like a visual stylistic choice because it kind of gives a whole like whoa, like oh fuck, you know. And it was like a hard turnaround how he's just able to grab the tip of the spear like that. Hashtag just the tip. So Roshi goes even further to show how he's gotten stronger by essentially claiming that his, also I love this image of Koei just being scared as fuck. But Roshi goes further and explains the idea that all the energy that he would have wasted chasing after some booty has now been infused into his own body. His pent-up sexual frustrations are pushing Roshi beyond his limits, which will be something that is mentioned later on by the announcer in the episode, that what we are now seeing is limit breaker, sexually frustrated Master Roshi. The power of sexual frustration is too strong right now. And this will be demonstrated throughout the episode how much keeping it in his pants has allowed Roshi to progress even farther as a character. I thought this was some straight up bullshit, but Koei freaking the fuck out. Kirby said, holy shit. Koei freaking the fuck out because she knows that Roshi would tear that ass up. Jumps out of the ring herself. Now, for one, Koei just wasted herself so hard. She had so much potential. Her ability to make energy weapons that were smooth and amazing were incredibly great. Would have loved to have seen more of Koei and her powers. She was clearly better than Casserole from the Pride Troopers when it comes to forming energy weapons, just simply based off of how the energy weapons seemed more stable, how she was able to make them on like just like a snap of the finger. And I just feel like Koei would have been way better. Koei disregards the fate of her entire universe to dodge Roshi. Talk about a hashtag hard swerve. That was really fucked up. I don't know. I always find shit like that really selfish. Yo, Son Goku, welcome to the stream. Right now, I'm trying to avoid a few of the Roshi comments. Just to make sure that I don't spoil things that I'll come back and talk about in the future. Kirby said, who is this mouse? Oh yeah, going back one image. So this mouse character is actually the god of destruction of Universe 4. Universe 4 being the main universe that Roshi fights off against in this episode. And in my opinion, Universe 4 is on fleek. They have a whole bunch of cool-ass abilities. The only Universe 4 person I don't like so far is this fucking cat dude with the 2 earrings who's blind. He was pretty ass. I don't give a fuck about him. He's probably the worst Universe 4 guy we've seen so far. Let's see, Hazardous Vegeta said, bootleg ass Mickey Mouse. And then Son Goku said, it's Jerry from Tom and Jelly. Yo, here's Krillin hoping that Roshi wasn't serious about all the other shit about like blushing. And he's right. Roshi was just playing around when he blushed because his sexual frustration has officially pushed him beyond his limits. He actually senses this other character hiding in the shadows in the background, and I thought that was cool as fuck. He doesn't even look at them. We can't even see them until after Roshi calls them out. Son Goku said, it's Shifu, lol. Oh, fuck, is that a Kung Fu Panda reference? I think I just got that. So, Roshi calls her Universe 4's talisman user, and I don't think they say her name out loud in this episode. So I'm going to also just call her the talisman user, but she seems to be versatile as fuck. Like, I like to talk about their abilities and techniques because that's part of what really gets me into Dragon Ball Super. But her shit, whole other level from what a lot of people are able to demonstrate and do. So here's one of her talismans that she threw, and notice that the talisman starts out as like this blue strip of energy, but then it forms into a fireball attack that she projects at Roshi. So Roshi more or less just like punches the shit out of it, and it just explodes, to which then Roshi reveals that it's actually an illusion. So it wasn't like an actual ball of fire falling toward him. And he essentially, oh, I actually got the same image twice. Well, he essentially talks about how since it's illusions, it's not going to be like that big of a deal. To which then she says, "That's right, just an illusion." And then she like creates a shit ton of talismans all at once, which I thought was impressive. Because it's one thing to be able to make one illusion, and it's another thing to be like, well, fuck it. Here are like all the illusions. But she throws them all around the arena. And then she talks about how it's like, well, maybe you planned against like what you've seen of me so far. But how are you going to be able to stand up against my 76 different attacks? Because this is her mystic talisman technique. So it seems like she may actually be a magic user. I also think she may be a demon, to be honest, because a lot of the things that she'll refer to later remind me of demon characters that we've seen throughout Dragon Ball Z up to this point. Into Super. And then she has 129 illusions. So she has 129 different illusions and 76 different attacks, and she can use them in combination with each other. Think about the possibilities. Think about how much of a mind fuck that is, and how she can really manipulate and fuck with her opponents as she fights. Hazard's Vegito said, "Where the fuck is my nigga Tien Shinhan?" Tien doesn't really appear in this episode, which is interesting. Because Roshi essentially takes the spotlight for this one, but you think if Roshi's going hard as fuck, that Tien would be able to at least back him up. Kirby said, "Magician of Dark Illusion?" Pretty much. Yeah, you're not wrong with that. So she demonstrates how powerful her illusions are by having Roshi feel like he's already on the edge of the Tournament of Power arena. She can make it look like no matter where you are, you're about to fall out of bounds. And you, with your judgment, have to determine whether or not you're actually on the edge of the arena or if you can just walk forward, which is a hard crapshoot. That illusion enough, I feel like, could take out people like Goku who don't like think hard enough about shit. You could essentially trick them into falling out of the ring. So the illusion shit goes further when Master Roshi, embracing the fact that like he's in an illusion, just runs up walls fucking Naruto style. This is like a hardcore Naruto run. He just diagonally runs up that shit, and it blew my mind. I was like, fuck, I never see shit like this. But it gets even crazier from here as the Universe 4 Talisman user appears as a fucking giant and swats Roshi off of the pillar. It's like fighting Scarecrow in Batman Arkham Asylum. If you guys have never played those games, there are missions where Scarecrow hits you with the fear gas, and inside of it, you're taken to this whole other world where Scarecrow has like propped up these illusions. You have to go around all these obstacles, but he's a giant and he can like crush you. Like they essentially took that Batman Arkham Asylum like illusion fight kind of thing and put Roshi in that situation, and we're like, yo, how is Roshi going to be able to get himself out of this situation? I mean, this talisman technique is bonkers. She essentially trapped him in a world where she controls what is real and what is not. I absolutely love this power, and I would love to see more shit like this in the future in Dragon Ball Super. Kirby said, "I've played it. Those parts are fun," referring to the Scarecrow levels in Batman Arkham Asylum. Son Goku said, "Oh, Scarecrow. True. Yeah, most def." And like, I mean, look at this face. Look at how like her eyes are glowing in her mouth and shit. Like, I feel like they took inspiration from the Scarecrow fight, and if they didn't, what a fucking coincidence. Because I mean, it's so close. So she reveals that she can bind your shadow. So she can throw a talisman onto your shadow and make it where you can't move. It just holds you in place. That is really useful, not only for holding down opponents for other people to beat up on them, but also if she bound herself to the center of the Tournament of Power arena to where she's not near the edges of the arena, then couldn't you take advantage of that and make it where you can knock me out, you can kill me, but as long as I'm bound to the center of the arena, you can't like take me out of bounds, which is how you eliminate me for the tournament. So I feel like her shadow binding thing, if she had used it on herself and just sat down and just said, do whatever the fuck you want to me, but I can't fall out, therefore I can't lose, that'd be pretty great. She could have also used this in other situations, but I'll definitely talk about that in the future. Kirby said, it's bullshit if it's not a reference to Scarecrow. It does feel like it needs to be a reference to Scarecrow. Also, the Naruto Ninja Run thing that Roshi did was cool, but also the shadow binding thing really reminded me of the shadow dude from Naruto. I can't remember his name. I know he's not the only person to ever have a shadow binding technique, but this definitely reminded me of him. Goku said, but you can get eliminated if you can't fight, remember? That sounds right. That's like what you're saying sounds true. But I remember when Jiren swatted the shit out of Kale, and she had to rest for a bit. Like, it seems like you can get beaten up in the Tournament of Power and then take a moment to rest and then get back up without getting eliminated. Like, have we seen an elimination yet that involved someone getting just knocked unconscious, like, without having to fall in the arena? Because I feel like we haven't yet. I feel like they've yet to enforce the idea that if you're, like, overly tired or knocked unconscious where you can't fight, that you just lose. It seems like you have to be knocked out in some way of the arena, not unconscious. But that might have been something that they mentioned in the rules, that, like, if you can't fight, you get eliminated. So I'm not sure. So not only does she bind him to that spot, but she then gives a little bit of history where she talks about how her planet exists in a dark place where light barely reaches. And she talks about how she hates, like, bright places, but essentially how now that she's in this dark room, that she has, like, this extra form, like she transforms, and then now she's unstoppable. Now, this is kind of bullshit. She's like, wow. Well, no, I was at the time like, wow, she powers up in darkness. I feel like if she could consume light and ki to get stronger, that would be amazing. But I only bring that up because that was a power in Dragon Ball Z, demonstrated by that one demonic character that Goku fights, where Goku was able to power up really hard and overcharge that creature and make it explode. Goku said, true, I get you. But I feel like she should have, for one, not told him about the bright light thing. Like, when she revealed that, I thought Roshi was going to somehow use his lightning flash thing and be like, with the bright and light, now you're weakened. And now you're holding me in place, but I'm holding you in place as well. And then, like, maybe Tien or something would jump in and, like, hit her and, like, knock her unconscious or something. That isn't what happened. But still, whenever you reveal what your, like, clutch thing is, that's asking for that shit to be used against you. But I like how Kirby said, solar flare, bitch. True. Couldn't Roshi have possibly used, like, the solar flare technique and then like weakened her right off the spot, and maybe that could have broken the talisman on his feet and have him, like, rush her down and, like, knock her out or something? As soon as you say, I'm powered by darkness, I just go, well, I wonder what light move I can use right now to just beat that ass. It seems like there were so many options once you learned that, like, oh, fuck, darkness is her power, that you just be like, let there be light. Just, like, stun on her, like, really hard. So, let's see. Roshi then says some really cool shit that I really stand behind. So he talks about how it's really his job in order to take care of these competitors who can outsmart the individual fighters in the Tournament of Power. While they're really strong and even stronger than him, there's him throwing down the bottle to get ready for the Mafuba. They can be tripped up by enemies that have, like, special powers and can deceive the people that they're fighting. So it's up to Roshi, someone who can see through these techniques and find ways to get around them in order to take them out. And I fuck with that on all kinds of levels. I really want to see Roshi get far in this tournament. It's cool to see Roshi breaking his limits and facing off against foes that are more powerful than himself, but being able to overcome said foes. So Roshi unleashes the Mafuba on that ass, which, after what we've talked about, with being able to use light as a way to like defeat her, of abilities like solar flare, and how we've established that like ki can be converted into light energy, Roshi had plenty of options other than the Mafuba, which, by the way, the Mafuba has the possibility of like taking a lot out of you and even possibly killing you. So this was a really high risk move for him to use the Mafuba to catch her rather than just like beat that ass with some light. Kirby said Master Roshi really shows why he is Master Roshi here. And that's a really good point, Kirby. I definitely vibe with what you just said. I still wish that rather than her be defeated by the Mafuba, that Goku could have fought her. Goku's really good about reading techniques over time and eventually adapting. So we could have seen a longer fight, and we could have seen her demonstrate more of her talisman abilities as Goku tried to overcome and eventually defeat her. Here is like a really solid fight. I found this conversation really relatable, but it's the mouse and Beerus, two gods of destruction, talking about how like, well, wait a minute, items aren't allowed. So he shouldn't be allowed to like use a jar and do the Mafuba. And then Beerus is like, well, that bitch used talismans. So like, shouldn't that also not be allowed? But then she's like, but that uses energy. So like, shut the fuck up. And then he's like, well, the Mafuba uses energy in a jar. So you shut the fuck up. So they both had really solid points, but then they're interrupted by the Zenos looking scary as fuck. And they're like, it's neat, so it's safe. Like, this is the most intimidating I think the Zenos have been in a non-playful way. Because I found the Zenos really intimidating when they were playing a game that involved flicking planets into each other. And the planets explode, and then you learn that, like, even though the game looks like a harmless hologram game, that they're actually real planets. I was like, fuck. The Zenos actually just don't care. That's like some God of Destruction level shit. And they're doing it because it's fun. You know, shit like that is insane. But they seemed really pissed. Oh, at least annoyed. But in a way that's like, oh, shit. I'm glad that the Mafuba, by the way, did not kill Master Roshi. And I'm also glad that the Zenos allowed for Master Roshi to use the Mafuba. It would have sucked if he got kicked out for that. Even though it was unnecessary, it's interesting to see that the Mafuba is an option in the future. Kirby said, look at that face. Oh my God. Talking about the Zeno face once again. Yeah, I know. Stares deep into your soul and haunts your nightmares. About that when I go to bed. But yo, the next thing, my nigga Ganos. Ganos is life. I love Ganos' character. I love what we're going to see of Ganos in this episode. And a lot of the rest of what I'm going to say about this episode. I'm going to be talking about how cool Roshi is, but also just how fucking great Ganos is. Let's get right into the nitty-gritty of what's going on with Ganos. So at first, when we saw this in like the episode preview with the lightning going around Ganos, I did not think for a moment that what happened was going to happen. But they actually hint at it with his design. If you look at his feet, he doesn't have normal feet. He has like these weird like bird-like talons at the ends of his legs. And I hadn't heard anyone talk about this like before this episode, that like he does kind of have a bird looking design, at least with his legs and feet. The rest of his body gives him more of like an elf appearance. And he kind of looks like the alien people that were in GT. But trying to stay a little bit more on topic, he transforms into this. And I love the design so much. I actually wrote in my notes, oh, fuck, what a transformation. The design is amazing. I am surprised that he's like a muscly bird creature, but I mean, the images I took do not do this justice, but we get to show like his hair grow out and everything. And it kind of reminded me of like a Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3 kind of thing. How long his hair gets, the flashing lightning around him and everything, how he gets muscle bound. Kirby said, it's Howard the Duck. Dude, Ganos Ganos goes hard as fuck. I love this design. I'll probably do something with Ganos in a Jet Edits video where I try to make my own original character using like different pieces of Ganos's design, because I love Ganos's design. But even though Ganos goes up to this next level and he gets more powerful, Roshi swags on him with the quickness. Look at this. Look at this fucking Roshi's not even looking at him. Like Roshi hits him with that hard shit, showing Ganos how much fodder he really is. But Ganos will definitely turn around and hit him with the quickness. So Roshi explains it. He's not just stronger than him for no reason. He says you may transform, but your fighting is the same. So it's not that Roshi is necessarily stronger or faster than Ganos, but rather that Roshi, due to his observations, how he's been watching everyone, and he knows everyone's abilities and techniques and tactics, which again is why I like compared Roshi to Batman, is the fact that like now that he's watched everyone and he knows what everyone is capable of, he's so many steps ahead of his competition. He knows that when fighting this person, I should look out for this and that and this and that. And that is what makes Roshi a dangerous but powerful adversary. Kirby said Roshi just bitch slaps him. Here he is coming in, Ganos coming back from getting bitch slapped, having energy talons, which I would have really liked to have seen more of these energy talons. This was actually kind of cool. And it just adds an extra dimension to his character. And you can see that the energy on the edge of the talons is a little unstable. Ganos says something along the lines of, I should be faster than him. And then Roshi says, you're also stronger than me, but that doesn't matter. I don't care that you're faster or you're stronger, but I have more experience. And that's when Roshi puts an energy blast right next to Ganos' dick and blasts him away. However, Ganos comes back and they reveal the craziest shit about Ganos as he like starts hitting the shit out of Roshi. Check this shit out. Ganos gets stronger every second of every minute. Ganos actually gains a power boost 60 times a minute. Imagine how strong Ganos would get in one fucking day in the fucking spirit of the room of spirit and time, or the hyperbolic time chamber as it's like referred to. So essentially what they say is that because Ganos is so young, Ganos actually, in the extreme conditions of the Tournament of Power, is constantly growing. Like, due to the fact that Ganos is under like so much like pressure in this tournament and so much bullshit is going on, that every moment he's in the Tournament of Power, he just gets better. He just is a better opponent than he was 1 second ago. So because he just gets stronger every second, he's way less predictable than like how he was when Roshi was fighting him. And while Roshi can swag on him at the beginning of the fight, they make it very clear that like it doesn't matter as long as Ganos keeps going. You have to stop Ganos as early as possible, because if you don't, he will fuck your day. Kirby said, what the balls? I know, right? And that's why I keep saying that, like, if he went in the room of spirited time, Ganos would be so powerful. He'd be put under additional strain due to how the room of spirit and time operates, but then also his second by second strength boost is increased like over a large amount of time, because the room of spirit and time has different rules about how time operates. So I mean, wow, that is amazing. Now this goes even further. Like, it's not just me riding Ganos's dick and talking about how powerful he is, but Roshi says something that made me be like, damn. Roshi says, at this rate, he'll keep getting stronger and could trip up Goku and the others. So Roshi recognizes that if Ganos stronger and stronger second by second, that he could potentially be a trouble for Goku as well as the other fighters for Universe 7. If anyone else had said that, other than like Roshi or maybe like Whis or something, then I wouldn't have really like taken it seriously. But because Roshi all the other fighters in the Tournament of Power, and the fact that Roshi recognizes that Ganos specifically could be a threat to Universe 7, shows that Ganos' ability to gain power second by second is fucking incredible, and just like, it goes beyond normal limit breaking. Kirby said, how long can he handle this form? That could be taken two ways, like how long could Ganos handle this form versus how long could Roshi handle fighting the form. And I would say when it comes to Ganos versus anyone, time is a big factor. The longer Ganos has to whoop you, the more Ganos will whoop that ass. How long can Ganos handle this form? It doesn't seem like the form puts wear on Ganos from what we see in this episode. So it's not like as Ganos is getting stronger that, like the Kaioken, it puts stress on his body. If anything, his body is getting better as he's getting stronger. The God of Destruction of Universe 4 even says it's like he's growing, just continuous growth. So because of that, it seems like he could probably handle being in this form almost indefinitely. But I'm not entirely sure. It hasn't been explicitly stated how long can Ganos maintain this form. Also, imagine if Ganos had the Yachina Fist. The Yachina Fist is an ability that's demonstrated by one of the magical girls in the Tournament of Power. And the way that ability is described is that her strikes become sharper, faster, and more powerful as she continues to like wail on her opponents. Imagine if Ganos, who gets stronger every second, also had the Yachina Fist ability where every time he striked, his strikes were faster and sharper and more powerful. Ganos would be a much bigger threat. Like, Roshi already thinks Ganos is a huge threat to Universe 7, but imagine if he had Rosie's Yachina Fist ability on top of that. And the fact that it's a technique, it seems like something that Ganos could have possibly learned. I would have really loved to have seen Ganos versus Rosie, by the way. That would have been a cool-ass fight as well. But yeah, moving on. Oh, by the way, Ganos' improvement is what I expected from Rosie when she used the Yachina Fist, but I digress. Whatever, fuck it. Still, Ganos should have had the Yachina Fist or learned the Yachina Fist. That would have been amazing. Kirby said, what is this game? So Roshi decides that because Ganos is such a huge threat against Universe 7, that Roshi has to use hypnosis in order to defeat Ganos. So he tries to make him go to sleep. So I thought this was an interesting twist, and it's definitely showing off like more of what Roshi is capable of. However, Ganos is able to shock himself using his own power in order to resist the hypnosis. He then goes even further and says, if it was me 5 minutes ago, I would have been beaten. So Ganos essentially is talking about how much stronger he's becoming second by second. And he even says they weren't, I say in my notes, they weren't exaggerating when they said he's constantly improving every second. Ganos has so much potential. And the idea that like Ganos can feel and tell how much stronger he's getting. It's not just that everyone else notices. Ganos knows this about himself as well, and he's taking advantage of that fact. I think the reason why Ganos says that that would have beaten him 5 minutes ago is that if Ganos had probably given his body a shock 5 minutes ago, like that in order to resist the hypnosis, either he's saying the shock may have not been enough to snap him out, or he could have possibly defeated himself with the shock. But he was durable enough to take his own hit and also use his own hit in order to escape the hypnosis, which I thought was really clever. That's really Ganos showing his head. I mean, not showing his head, but showing that he's thinking, you know, that he's using his intelligence in the fight. Kirby said, why would Ganos ever leave this form? And that's actually a really good point. It could be possible that Ganos, due to being in the Tournament of Power arena, was able to develop this form. In other words, Ganos, throughout his continual fighting in the Tournament of Power, may have unlocked this form. Now, this is not confirmed. So Ganos probably did have this form prior to the Tournament of Power. But that being said, this is our first time seeing him achieve the form in the tournament. And the Universe 4 God of Destruction does talk about how the extreme conditions of the tournament are what's pushing Ganos this far. So I'm not entirely sure. It could also be a stamina thing because Goku is avoiding using Super Saiyan Blue in order to keep stamina. So maybe Genos has a stamina problem with this form, but if that's the case, it's not demonstrated. There is one moment where Genos kind of like takes a breather, but I saw that more as Genos being like, thank goodness this fight is over, rather than Genos being like, oh man, my form's taking a toll on me. You know what I mean? So Goku freaks out because Roshi's like pushing himself really far, trying to fight off against Genos, which seems like an uphill battle because Genos just becomes stronger and stronger over time. Then Roshi gives this badass speech to Goku and Krillin, where he talks about how Goku and Krillin have essentially taught him that you should keep on fighting, and that as you continue to push yourself further, you can overcome your limits. And as stated earlier, Roshi has learned to overcome his limits by suppressing his worldly desires. Due to his sexual frustrations, Roshi has pushed himself beyond to become Limit Breaker Roshi. And considering this is actually this is interesting to talk about, but there's this big thing about how someone who has no limits versus someone who continually gets better, like who continually breaks their limits, how there's like a big struggle between them. But this is a fight more along the lines of two individuals who have limits. No, actually, it's not. Genos essentially has no limit. As long as he has enough time, he'll become stronger than anyone he could face. But Roshi does have limits, but he breaks them. He breaks his limits in order to overcome Genos. Death battle argument, which, by the way, I still think Superman would beat Goku. I know this is a little off topic, but this is like an in-universe example from Dragon Ball Super of someone breaking their limits in order to defeat someone who essentially has no limits. So I don't think it's safe to say that just because someone has limits that they continually break versus someone who essentially has no limits, that the person who breaks their limits can't somehow defeat the person who has no limit to begin with. That being said, these are really different arguments, but they have like a similar setup, because Superman, of course, is not the same with Superman as it is with Genos, clearly. But Roshi continues giving his pep talk to Goku and Krillin as he's firing off this Kamehameha wave. But Genos at the same time is firing off his lightning blast. And Roshi's just tanking this lightning blast as he's shooting off the Kamehameha wave. And he says, the Kame style is with you. Like, Roshi gives this big end-off speech. And I think Roshi knows that he's pushing himself heavily beyond his limits to the point to where he could die. Like, I think Roshi, you can see it in his eyes and the way that he's speaking, that he knows that, like, this is beyond him what he's currently doing, and that this could lead to his deathbed. And also, the lightning, again, that you're seeing is not lightning flashing off of Roshi from his power. This is the lightning he's being hit with by Genos. He's continually being damaged as he fires off what he claims. Keep in mind, this is Roshi's signature move. He claims that this is the greatest, most powerful Kamehameha wave, which is a new ability that's being demonstrated by Limit Breaker Roshi, the greatest, most powerful Kamehameha. But sadly, it leaves Roshi collapsed on the ground. So I just like to say, what a fucking champ, tanking Genos' lightning attack. He already was at low stamina. Genos was already beating the shit out of him. And he still is able to knock Genos out of the Tournament of Power arena using his Kamehameha wave. So, like, props to Roshi. Dang, that was pretty solid. Goku, by the way, was fighting off against someone. Kirby just said, rip Roshi. Goku was fighting off against someone who had, like, this whole liquid metal body kind of thing they were doing to hold Goku back, which, again, fucking Goku, getting trapped fighting a Jaboni. I just called him a Jaboni. fighting another jabroni, getting stuck in a hole. That's like a trope that we're just going to keep seeing Goku getting just stuck in fucking holds. And guess how he gets out of it? First time, going Super Saiyan Blue. By the way, Goku said, fuck stamina, I need to help Roshi. Uh, Seeing Roshi get hurt pushes Goku to go all the way to blue, which is some bullshit, because we now know that Goku can go Super Saiyan God, which reserves more stamina, and the smart thing to do would have been to maybe have gone God in order to break out of the hold, because it uses less stamina. But this is, I understand that he's emotionally charged at this time, and to be honest, if Goku would have broken his limits off of thinking that Roshi had died, that would have been interesting too. That would have been really cool to see. But here, Goku is using his energy blast, right, to resuscitate Master Roshi. He's essentially going like clear and like charging it against his heart in order to try and bring Master Roshi back to life, which is something that we saw Goku do to himself when he died fighting Hit earlier on in Dragon Ball Super, which is very interesting, to be honest, that they're essentially establishing, yes, Goku can use that not only on himself, but also on other people to assist them in coming back to life after they have died. So this is a thing, and I feel like we will see this in the future in Dragon Ball Super, especially since we already are seeing it in the future because he's done it before. So I did predict in my previous episode that Roshi was going to die, and that's what Zolex was talking about. Zolex was like, how did you know that Roshi was going to die in this next coming episode? Well, keep in mind, did Roshi really die? Roshi does say, where did the young angels go? He's talking about how he had passed on, and Goku gives him this really warm embrace. I love how Kirby said, when did Goku learn how to use a defibrillator? I know, right? Like, how does he understand that concept? But essentially, when Roshi says there were a lot of cute angels over there, Goku follows it up by like, oh, well, I didn't record the part where Goku followed it up. But Goku says, are you sure you weren't just dreaming? So for one, if Roshi was just passed out, then Goku like pumped the shit out of his heart. Like if someone's just unconscious and you use a defibrillator on them, that actually really like hurts them. Like the point is, once they've regained consciousness, you don't use a defibrillator. So I think it makes more sense for Roshi to have died, because if not, Goku would have probably killed him trying to do the defibrillator thing. But then Roshi's comment about the cute angels, we've seen what the afterlife looks like in Dragon Ball. And, it's more like you're at King Yemma's desk than it is like at these fine honey angels that are around me. But you do have to also take into account that the way that the other world works, like the afterlife, it seems to have to do with like where you are. You know what I mean? I don't think the other world is shared between all the different universes, and they are in the Tournament of Power space, which is like a whole other like pocket dimension, other thing. You know what I mean? So maybe the afterlife that you go to here is different from what's presented in Universe 7. And I wonder if anyone does die in the Tournament of Power, will we get to see where they go? Like what happens when you die here, considering it's its own little place separated from the other universes and their other worlds. Kirby said he really did die. Goku was just being nice. Also, speaking of like death and life, Frieza is technically dead in the Tournament of Power. He still has the halo and everything. He's just temporarily in our world. So I think if Roshi had died, but they hadn't removed his body from the arena, that he still would have been counted as in. Because if not, how do you explain fighters like Frieza who are dead the whole time? It doesn't seem to matter whether or not you're alive or dead. But then that goes back to what Goku said about if you can't fight, you're eliminated. Because that could be a thing. And if that is the case, then Roshi would just be eliminated from dying. You know what I mean? But also, Roshi did die. You know what I mean? Like, if we do say that Roshi straight up did die, and if death was a way for you to get eliminated, but Roshi didn't get eliminated, then I would argue then that means you can die in the Tournament of Power and not be eliminated. I think you do have to be thrown out of the arena. Which then, jumping back to the Kawaii situation, if Kawaii had shadow bound herself to the center of the arena, they could have done whatever they wanted. Not Kawaii. I fucked up her name. The Universe 4 talisman user. I don't know her name. But if she had bound her shadow to the center of the arena and then just let herself get like beat the shit out of, then I think she could have won the tournament. Even if they had killed her. As long as she stayed right there and no one moved her, then I think she could have still won the Tournament of Power. I'm just saying. Also, I think the shadow binding thing could have worked with the Cocoette from the Pride Troopers, who makes the dimensional bubble around herself, because she was like, as long as I'm in the dimensional bubble, no one can reach me. But then someone picked up the bubble and just threw it out. It was Android 18 who did that. So if she could have also bound her shadow to the ground, then it would have been like, oh, well, you can't lift my bubble because my bubble can't move from the space. Then she could have done well, even though there are plenty of fighters who are breaker level and could have broken into the bubble and gotten Cocoette anyways. But I'm just saying. Kirby said Goku's revival is probably too fast to enforce anything. It seems like it goes on for a little while. Though that being said, I think this episode might have been 5 minutes in universe time. I can't remember how much time was remaining in the previous episode. I just know that this episode ends with there being 34 minutes remaining. I hadn't written it down in my notes from the last episode how much time was left, so I couldn't like recollect it. But it does seem like this episode happened rather quickly in the Tournament of Power. But still, I guess his dying was too fast to enforce anything. I mean, we have seen people fall out of the Tournament of Power arena, right, in the past, but then do some bullshit to save themselves and fall back in. So if that's something that can be done, then I guess you're also right, Kirby, that like you can break the rule for a little bit, but as long as it doesn't happen for a significant amount of time, you can get away with it. You can fall out the arena as long as you get back in. You know, you can die as long as you come back to life. So, I mean, I see where you're coming from, Kirby. So the next episode is talking about a sniper who's going after the Universe 7 fighters. And it seems like the sniper's ability, this is going to be a prediction for the next episode, so spoilers. I feel like the sniper's ability is that they can shoot blasts between these orbs, and the Universe 7 fighters have to trace these orbs in order to find the sniper and defeat them. I'm not sure if the sniper is going to be the main threat of the entire episode or not, or if it's just going to be part of the episode and then there's going to be someone else appear. The sniper, I think, might be the pig guy. I don't remember his name or what universe he's from. But I think that that might be his character, but I'm not sure. Those are my predictions so far based on what we saw in the episode preview. But yeah, I do think it's interesting to be able to shoot the energy between these individual points to make it where it's hard to find your location and you can attack multiple enemies at once. Kirby said the sniper is Deadshot. I am feeling a lot of these references to like things that feel like DC. This felt like a really Batman-y episode of Dragon Ball Super. The sniper's ricochet like thing does remind me of what Deadshot does in the Suicide Squad movie, shooting his bullets off of like these reflective plates. So yeah, I do see that as well. And it'd be interesting if these were just ideas that were thought of, you know, across the pond, like just across the ocean, and weren't connected to each other. But it would also be interesting if they were references to one another, because you can definitely see it from both sides. Let's see. I feel like I think I'm now like at the end of what I have. Yep. So now it's just notes, my final thoughts and everything on the episode. I would have. Oh, well, let me pick an image to put it on. This is Kirby said, "Who makes this series? Dang it!" Toei works on it. Toei and Sueisha, I believe. work on the anime. I may be wrong about the Soesha part. I know Toei does. But I'll put it on this image as I share my final thoughts. So my final thoughts on the episode are as follows. It would have been dope to have seen Genos transform further and fight Goku. Goku could have believed that Genos had killed Roshi and let him fight a Genos who had resisted Roshi's blast as he continued to get stronger. That would have been a sight to see. Yeah, I honestly feel like Ganos kind of was wasted potential. It was really cool to see Roshi defeat Ganos. I understand why they did it the way they did, but having Ganos, someone who continually becomes more powerful, fight off against Rosie, who continually like improves her strikes with the China Fist, or having Ganos fight against Vegeta, who's constantly fighting against well, Vegeta's whole thing is that he's trying to overcome Goku, like surpass Goku, who continually is like breaking his limits and getting more powerful. So to have Vegeta fight Ganos, who's an embodiment of continually surpassing your limits and getting more powerful, would have been really nice. So I would have loved to have seen Vegeta versus Ganos, or have seen Rosie versus Ganos, or Goku versus Ganos. That would have been really neat. But sadly, we didn't get that. So, you know, it's fine, but it could have been better. I would have loved to have seen that in the Tournament of Power. But the fight's position was awesome. Fight's position essentially means like exposition delivered through fighting. There wasn't a lot of fighting, and then in the middle, like a long speech to explain anything. So essentially, as the fight was going on, you were learning story and you were learning more about what was happening. Kirby said, "Where is Dende?" Dende, while being the god of Earth, is not at the Tournament of Power. It seems like the only gods who went to the Tournament of Power were the gods of destruction and the Kaioshins. But the fight's position was great. The powers of Universe 4 were amazing. Roshi's strategy and analysis were spot on and effective. Except for the Shadow Chick. I don't think he needed to use the Mafuba, and that was really risky because we didn't know if you could use items or not. Roshi was the focus, but other fights were shown in order to still remind the audience of the bigger picture. We got to see the robot guy from Universe 6, Batamo. We got to see whatever that blue thing was that farts gas in order to fly around. We got to see Goku fight off against the liquid metal person. You know what I mean? So it's cool to see Roshi be the focus without them completely focusing in on Roshi alone. A lot of people complained that in the last episode they focused too hard on Hit, Dispo, Goku, and the Pride Troopers, and it felt like they were the only thing happening in the Tournament of Power, which I totally can understand. You do need to remind us that there's more going on in the world, or else it doesn't really feel like a Battle Royale tournament and just like a traditional tournament or just like a small fight. Kirby said, if Vegeta takes lethal damage and gets healed, he should surpass Goku. The Zenkai boosts seem to have gotten weaker over time. The last character, I think, to really benefit from a really strong Zenkai boost, a Zenkai boost being when Saiyans are damaged, their powers increase if they're able to like heal from it, was Goku Black. Goku Black takes strong advantage of the Zenkai boost. But correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's the last character we've seen in a while take strong advantage of a Zenkai boost, to where like it was a plot point that like this person is definitely using Zenkais. But it'd be interesting to see if maybe Zenkais could be related to Goku's new form and him breaking past his limits, which is a big theme of the Tournament of Power. And even the theme song is Limit Break Survivor. You know what I mean? But continuing on, Universe 4's fighters have shown off amazing abilities, but I would have liked to have seen teamwork between its members. The Pride Troopers all had unique abilities, but they also utilized their abilities together as a team to be more formidable. Together, the Pride Troopers, a majority of them, had to be taken out by, two Super Saiyans. You know what I mean? So they definitely weren't just jabronis, the Pride Troopers who've been eliminated. They actually demonstrated that they had grade A abilities, but they were facing off against like very high level opponents. So I feel like Universe 4, with Ganos being able to become stronger every second, with the illusion world that could be created by their talisman user, and how she can bind people in place with their shadows and shit like that. And Kuwei with her ability to create the energy weapons. I believe if they each work together, they could accomplish a lot. The shadow user could have placed a shadow binding on Roshi. Then Ganos could have been given an energy weapon by Kuwei, because it's been shown that other people are able to hold the weapons. And then Ganos, using the weapon while also using his increased strength, could have whooped up on a Roshi who was being held in place and taken Roshi out of the tournament. So Universe 4 had a lot of potential for them to work as a unit. That being said, Kuwei and the Universe 4 Talisman user wouldn't work well together, mainly because the Universe 4 Talisman user needs darkness, but Kuwei's weapons would provide light. So it's give or take on that. Like when we get into it, could have been good, could have been bad. You could see how they may have worked together, but it may not have worked as well as they wanted. So it's a toss-up. But I still would have liked to have seen more teamwork. I mean, you really need teamwork in order to strive farther. And if Roshi had been teamed up on by multiple fighters, it would have caused Roshi to have had to push himself even further, and that would have been interesting to have seen as well. I have actually little to no problem with this episode. It's nearly perfect. I give it a 5 out of 6 Matty Fucks. I'd love to hear what all of you thought about this episode as well. Please hit up the comment section below. If you like this video, make sure to like this video, favorite, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell so you'll be notified whenever we do the live stream. To answer your questions, Alex, about how I was able to predict that Roshi would die, the title of the episode was Roshi's Great Sacrifice. You know what I mean? We also got to see in the episode preview that Roshi was going to use the Mafuba. And the Mafuba is a technique that normally leads to someone either becoming really weak, he uses a lot of stamina, but it also has the possibility of you dying if you use the Mafuba. So because of those factors, and also Goku in the episode preview for this episode was like, "Don't die, Roshi." I really thought that with all those elements put together, that Roshi would probably die while doing the Mafuba, but in the end, it seems like no, Roshi died simply because he went hard as fuck, and there wasn't much to come back from that. Roshi definitely pushed himself hella hard in order to pass beyond and die. So yeah, those were the different hints that I had to indicate that, hey, Roshi's probably gonna die in the next episode. So that's how I was able to predict that. Once again, I had little to no problem with this episode. It's nearly perfect. I give it 5 out of 6 Matty Fucks. Thank you all once again for watching, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. This is your boy and your host, Jet Black, logging out. Peace.